What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Jason Ward here, Ward's Way to Fitness. We're rocking another workout today, hitting total body once again. Today's focus is going to be a little bit more upper body. Still only need the one piece of equipment for today's workout. So if you are locked in your home, as I am right now, then you just need that one piece. So a kettlebell, a dumbbell, some sort of external load is all that you need. If you want to get creative, maybe you've got like a water jug, something like that, you could use that as well for all of the loaded sections of today's workout. Some of the moves will be a bit more challenging to do with odd objects, and I'll try to give you some variations that you can do instead. Because I understand that we're not all necessarily fully equipped to hit all of these workouts right now. So the focus is going to be on unilateral training today. So we're going to be hitting just one arm or one leg at a time as we cover each muscle group. So our strength section is going to be all about single arm floor presses, rows, and split squats. So we're working basically the entire body with those three moves, and then we'll hit some conditioning at the end. So hopefully you've got yourself some water if you're ready to follow along with the workout, or if we're catching this as a replay on YouTube later, then enjoy the workout and hopefully you get a good sweat on today. So we are going to start today's workout with a 7-minute AMRAP. So that means we're going to do as many rounds as possible in a 7-minute time block. And there's going to be 3 exercises that we're going to cover. Exercise number 1 is a halo. Okay, so this should be pretty doable with just about any object. Basically, it's just wrapping around the head. It's going to challenge the shoulders, mobilize, get us activating through the core and the shoulders as we start this workout. So basically, we pick that kettlebell, dumbbell, whatever we've got up. And actually, I'm just going to turn it around here. And we want to wrap around the back of the head and then back to the front. And that's 1. And we will be doing 7 reps in one direction and then 7 reps back in the other direction. That's exercise number 1 for the warm-up. Okay, take your time. Make sure you're doing them well. The goal here is to mobilize and get some blood flow, not to speed through the reps. We're not actually looking to hit as many reps as possible. We want to kind of like gradually increase the internal body temperature to get ourselves ready for the work coming in the later part of the workout. So exercise number 2 is just going to be a body weight split squat. Okay, so we basically want to start front leg. In this case, I've got my left leg forward. Your knee should be right over top of the heel in that front leg. Your back leg, knee should be right underneath of the hip, and there should be some space between the heel of your foot and your back knee. Okay, so we don't want to see what I call tight roping, where the legs are kind of like in a straight line. You actually want to create a little bit of space to start this movement. Okay, then you can't really see my back foot, but I'm going to tuck those toes up underneath. And then I want to make sure that I'm pushing all of the toes down into the floor. So the big toe right down to the little toe are all pushing into the floor, which might make it feel like you're turning your heel away from you. And that's okay. That's actually what we want to see here. It's going to be a much stronger position. It'll create a little bit of a bow. So we're in a more stable position from there. Okay, we're going to hit 7 reps. So driving off that front leg, using that back leg for balance. We're standing straight up. Core stays tight. We're nice and tall. Back to the floor, driving the floor away again. Okay, hit 7. When you're at the bottom, try to keep that back knee hovering just off the floor. Okay, once you've hit 7, then you can switch legs. If you feel comfortable with your setup, you don't have to go right back to the floor and set yourself up again like I have here. You can just go right into that other leg if you're comfortable. If not, feel free to go back, do your setup, hit the reps again. Okay, we get 7 on the other leg. Then we're going to hit 7 inchworms with a push-up. So we're starting from a folded position. We should feel a little bit of loading on those hamstrings, and you're going to walk yourself out on your hands to a push-up position, bring yourself to the floor, walk yourself on your hands back to your feet, and then repeat. Walking it back out, down, walking those hands back to your feet. Okay, if you can't hit the push-ups, don't worry, you can put your knees down to do the push-up section. So basically, once you get out to that high plank position, put your knees down, then lower yourself down, then come back up, walk yourself back to your hands. Okay, so you choose the variation that's appropriate for you. We have just those 3 exercises. We'll do 7 minutes. Try to keep a relatively steady cadence. So we're moving for the whole 7 minutes. Should be time to probably get 3 to 4 rounds of each movement in as a minimum target. Okay, if you get more, great. As long as the quality's there, I'm happy with that. All right, so who's ready to get started? I had to set up my clock here. And nope, countdown. And there we go. All right, clock's ready. And I'm ready. Starting with those halos. Let's go. We got 7 minutes on the clock. Oop. Almost dropped it. That would have been bad. So keep that posture nice and tight as you cycle that weight around to the back. Right, I was going to keep going in the same direction for 7. You want to try to get the elbows pointed up towards the ceiling with this movement. 6 and 7. I have completely forgotten which way I was going. There we go. All right. So you should feel that one through the upper body. You might get a little bit of tricep action in there. We're going to move into these split squats next. Again, staying nice and tall, hitting 7 reps. Keep everything nice and tight. So come down, drive that floor away. Focus should be on this front leg as we come down and drive back up. That back leg is really there more for stabilization. So you'll notice that I kind of like rotate towards this front leg a little bit as I come down. That's to kind of like try to keep the load on this front leg, get the core a little bit more involved in the movement. All right, moving on to those inchworms. Again, keeping that core nice and tight. Walk it on your hands. Down to the floor, back to your hands. Nice strong posture, nice tight core. Last one. All right. And that's one round. Moving back to the halo. So you should notice that, whoops, the heart rate starts to climb a little bit. Start to feel a little bit of a light sweat as we move through these movements. Whew. All right, back to those inchworms. Again, keeping that core nice and tight. Try to load those hamstrings up a bit. I just realized I need to be doing a better job of counting. Because I definitely lost my count on that round right there. We got about 2.5 minutes left, which puts us right on pace to get 3 rounds done before the 7 minutes is up. So that's good. So each set of each movement, you should feel a little bit more comfortable with each movement. A little bit more loose. At 50 was starting to feel a bit heavy for those halos. Split squats almost feel like a break in this routine right now. And then finish up with those inchworms. 1 minute left to go here. All right, my legs are starting to feel this a little bit. Good sign. 6. And 7. 6 seconds left. We'll call that a warm-up. All right. Good stuff. Actually, you don't need to set another one right now. All right, if you've got yourself some water, now's a good time to grab a little drink before we move on to the strength section for today's workout. So I'll give you guys a minute or so here as I explain how this next piece is going to work. Oops. All right, so we have 3 moves again. There's not going to be a time limit on this one per se. Should probably be able to get them all done inside of about 20 minutes. We want to keep the rests relatively short. We won't rest between arms, but we will rest between movements. We're going to hit them as a circuit, so one right after the other. Exercise number 1 is a floor press, okay? So this one's going to work the chest, shoulders, triceps, okay? We're laying on our back. If you have a bench and you want to do a bench press here, you certainly could. I want to keep it to unilateral though, so we want to work just the one arm at a time, okay? So either laying on the floor or laying on a bench if you have one. If you want to get creative, maybe you've got your couch, you want to lay on your couch, or I don't know how strong your coffee table might be, but you can get creative, lay on something, maybe make a makeshift bench of some kind. Doesn't really matter. The key is that we're laying down on our back for this movement, okay? Hopefully you have a reasonably challenging weight. What I want is something that we're going to be able to hit for about 10 to 12 repetitions without compromising the speed or the form of the movement. Okay, so laying back on the floor, I'm going to grasp that kettlebell in my case. You might have a dumbbell. Doesn't really matter. Try to position the arm so it's at about a 45-degree angle to your body. Keep everything nice and tight. We want to keep the wrist right over top of the elbow at the bottom of this movement. We're going to drive up, keeping everything nice and tight. We're kind of pushing towards the midline of the body a little bit. Bring that weight back to the floor where we started, but don't relax your arm at the bottom. You want to maintain tension and then drive that weight up again. Okay, so the key is a nice slow descent, powerful squeeze as we push the weight up, slow descent again. Okay, so as I said, what I'd like to see is a weight that you can do for about 10 to 12 reps, maintaining a nice solid control to the floor, good explosion to punch that weight back up. And our target is going to be 40 reps for each of the movements that we're going to do. Hopefully, again, if the weight's in the proper range, you'll be able to do that, hit that in 3 to 4 sets essentially is where we want to land. 40 is the total volume. Maybe you will do a set of 10 4 times. Maybe you do 12, 11, 10, and then 7 to wrap it up. That's fine. It doesn't really matter how the reps wind up getting structured. The important thing is that we get them all done. Okay, so you do your right arm, do your left arm. You'll have to kind of keep a mental tally. If you've got somewhere where you can write it down, that's great. So then after we do the right arm, we do the left arm. Then you can take 30 seconds to a minute to rest, recover before we move on to our second movement, which is going to be dumbbell row variation. All right, I'm going to use the gorilla row for myself. I'll show you guys a couple of variations that you can do instead if you're not comfortable with the gorilla row. So for the gorilla row, our feet should be a little bit wider than hip width apart. We're going to squat down, keep the torso nice and tall, right? So we want to be standing in a position like so, right? We grasp our kettlebell or our dumbbell, whatever we have. This works a lot better with the kettlebell. We want to pull with a little bit of rotation at the top of the movement and then bring it back to the floor, but we're maintaining a nice strong tension through the back of the body, okay? If you have a dumbbell and that range of motion doesn't feel very natural with a dumbbell, that's fine. You could do a lunge position, right? Keeping yourself leaned into the opposite leg. So if we've got the right leg forward, we're grabbing with the left arm, setting the posture, pulling the weight back toward the hip. Okay, keeping everything nice and tight as we hit the pull. If you've got a bench or a couch or something that you can lean against, you could also hit your rows with the support of an outside object to help you stay upright. Okay, so that's exercise number 2. Again, we want to be about 10 to 12 reps a set, keeping nice strong control of the movement, powerful contractions, trying to maintain speed through all of the reps. Okay, after we have finished both arms for our rows, again, 30 seconds to a minute rest is good. Then you can move on to a suitcase hold with a split squat. Okay, so we're going to want to put the weight in the opposite arm to the leg that's forward. So we've already seen the split squats because we did them in our warm-up. So again, I want the same thing. We want to make sure that that back knee right underneath of the hip, front knee is going to be right over top of the heel at the bottom. Okay, we're nice and tall at the top. We want to hold that weight to the opposite side, keeping the posture and core nice and tight. Bringing it down, controlling with that front leg, drive the floor away, back down, and repeat. Again, 10 to 12 on one leg, and then 10 to 12 on the other leg, and then 30 to 60 seconds, and then we'll cycle back to the top and hit the floor press again. And we'll work through those 3 movements until we have accumulated 40 reps for each one. All right? All right, let's get to work. Just going to switch my timer so I can see that. Perfect. All right. So starting with that floor press, let's get down to business. So again, we want about a 45-degree angle, drive up hard, control, back to the floor. All right, that was good. I think a slightly heavier weight might have been better for this one, but I'm good.
One thing I did forget to mention was try to keep the belly button pulled down into the floor so your lower back is staying flush with the ground as you hit each rep. All right, and that's our first set of press. Again, if you wanted to do that on a bench, that would be fine. If you did not do yesterday's workout, which had overhead pressing in it, and you want to hit some overhead presses again today, that would, or well, you could hit them again today too. It would be a fine alternative here as well. So overhead press is also acceptable. So the big thing that I like to focus on when I'm hitting these like strength sections is keeping posture tight, keeping the form really good, and then driving with as much force as I can on each and every rep. And if the speed starts to slow down, then I will stop the set because I don't want to compromise that quality and explosiveness in exchange for extra reps. Okay. So again, we're going to move on to rows next. I'm going to be hitting the gorilla variation, but feel free to substitute in any sort of supported row, either like leaning into your opposite leg, grabbing a bench or something like that. All of those are acceptable. I really like the gorilla rows because it makes me feel like tall, strong, powerful. And who doesn't enjoy feeling that way? All right. Sometimes I feel like the hardest part of the gorilla row is actually just holding the position to hit the movement. Whew. All right. So that one should really light you up along the sides of the back through the lats. That's what gives you wings. And we'll hit those legs for our next one. Just giving my heart rate a second to come back down a bit. So the split squats are the one where you'll probably get the most heart rate response because the legs are the largest muscles that we're using in today's workout. So it's definitely where you will get the most elevated heart rate, heavy breathing happening. All right. Whew. All right. Feel that one. All right, other side. If you need to take a little break between sides, that's okay. You can take smaller breaks if you're taking them in between each side. Longer breaks if you can hit them both consecutively. Ooh. Ooh. Let's lighten those quads up a little bit. How are you all feeling out there? Hopefully we're doing good. Getting ready for another round of that upper body, hitting the floor press again next. So I managed 12 of each of those repetitions myself. The weight's probably a little on the light side. Probably could have pushed that up to 15 if I were really dedicated to the cause, I suppose we could say. But I did feel like the speed was starting to get affected, so we'll see how this next set goes. Again, the goal is just to hit 40 reps total here with about a 10 to 12 rep maximum. So choosing our weights appropriately is key. All right, let's get back to that upper body. Hit some floor press. All right, again, remember, belly button to the floor, 45-degree angle at the elbow, and a strong contraction on the way up. Sometimes I like to poke at whatever my target muscle is. Gets a little bit more activation from that muscle when you're palpating it or touching it. It's a rather interesting piece of neuroscience. Okay. Set 2 tells me that this was a fine weight selection, as that was only 10 and I could feel the speed starting to get affected. May also be that I was shifting the focus a little bit to getting a little bit more muscle contraction here. So when you touch the target muscle, as you go to contract it, you can actually get a stronger contraction from the target. And that works for really any muscle group. Obviously, if you're doing exercises where you have to use both hands, it'll be harder to actually create a touch sensation in the target muscle. So that's where like having a gym partner or a coach can come in handy, but it's obviously not necessary to the process. There are other ways that you could use to create some tension or palpation in the target muscle. Sometimes even just like thinking, okay, I want you to contract as hard as possible is enough to get the muscles to really work hard. But some muscles we can't seem to communicate with as effectively. So building to that over time is also important. So knowing your body and knowing which muscles respond well and which ones don't can be very beneficial for getting a stronger contraction and better workout. All right. More rows. Back to feeling like a gorilla. Feels good. Whew. All right, feeling that one. So we should feel some generalized fatigue throughout the body as we work through these movements. not just necessarily in the target. So wherever we're trying to create the fatigue, that's great if we're getting it there. But just because of the nature of the way this is structured, you will probably feel just a general sense of fatigue start to hit your body as you work your way through these movements. All right. Into those split squats. Okay. That doesn't have a very good battery life. All right. Interesting. All right, well, I guess we'll have to deal with the lower sound quality since I can't find the charger. On the plus side, I don't have to wear that anymore. All right. I'm not sure where my charger is. I was just going to plug it in and see if it would continue to work that way, but seeing as how it doesn't want to do that, I guess we're out of luck. So, we're back onto the floor press. We'll keep working our way through here. Definitely losing a little bit of speed there. actually a little bit stronger than the right there. I did expect the battery on that thing to last a little bit longer, as I've only used it for 2 streams previously. So I only got about like 2.5, 3 hours, I think, out of it total. That's not excellent. Although maybe it charges fast. Who knows? Guess we'll find out. Back onto those gorilla rows. Get that upper body pumped up a little bit more. Whew. Excuse me. Definitely going to start compromising form to get more reps right there. All right. So we got lunges, and then we'll probably just have to work through these one more time, since we're at 31, 32 reps for the floor press, 34 for the rows. Should be in the 30 plus range for the split squats after this set. Then we can hit our conditioning. It's going to be just tons and tons of fun today. All right. Feeling good. All right, left leg. Whew, all right. Left leg definitely feeling that a little bit more than the right. All right. So we go, well, I have one more set of each of these. I can't imagine that you'd have more than that, but you might have, or less than that, I should say. You might have more, depending on how heavy your weight selection actually is. Maybe you're struggling to maintain the form and tempo. Need a few extra sets. It's all good. All right. So I got 9 and 8. So 9 for the right arm, 8 for the left arm for these floor presses. And these ones are done. Should be able to get that done this set, I think. I was feeling pretty strong with this movement so far today, so can't imagine why I would have too much struggle for this last set. All right. Good. And then just 8 reps for the left arm. All right. We've got 6 gorilla rows per side to wrap up that one. And then 4 left leg, or 4 right leg, 6 left leg for the split squats. And then we can get into the fun where we do our conditioning. All right. So again, nice and tight through the core. Don't sacrifice the quality just because it's the last set. Whoo! Nice. It's feeling pretty good. All right. Solid effort from the MyZone report so far. So MyZone is a heart rate tracker. I use the chest strap. They now have wrist and arm straps available as well, but the chest is still the most accurate. And they give you a readout of your heart rate in real time, give you a percentage of the maximum, so you know about where you're working as you work through various different training styles. So in the case of this like strength-based work, my goal is to be in the 65 to 75% range for most of it, which looking at the report looks like I've been pretty good. It'd be okay if it inched up toward the yellow as the sets got more challenging, but we're definitely trying to keep it relatively consistent. And then when we get into more like conditioning, you want to see like more up into the yellow and even red, where we're like 80 to 90% plus of your maximum heart rate. And there we go. That is the strength piece. Not bad, not bad. Looks like that was probably about a half hour. It's about where I would like that to fall in terms of timeline. So we're gonna finish with 2 AMRAPs, okay? It's the same movements for both. We're gonna do a 3-minute AMRAP with a 2-minute rest period, followed by a 5-minute AMRAP. So the 2 moves are the kettlebell snatch and the sit-up, okay? So the kettlebell snatch is a total body movement. Really, it's about power, speed, explosiveness, and it utilizes the legs to generate most of the power. You're going to punch the weight up over your head. If you're not comfortable with this movement with a kettlebell, it is okay to grab a dumbbell. If you are not able to do the movement at all because of the equipment that you have, then you could sub in just like a ground overhead as we did yesterday's workout instead. So you take your pick on what you want to do there, figuring what kind of movement works best for you. If you want to throw some push-ups in here instead, you could do like 6 push-ups instead of the 3 snatches. Won't have quite the same effect, but it'll be fairly similar, just in terms of volume and like keeping yourself moving. So basically what I want to see is at least a round per minute for the 3-minute set, and then like a same pacing basically on the second set in the 5 minutes. So you should be hitting somewhere around 8 rounds between the two. If you can do more, that's great. It'll be a hard pace to maintain as you work your way through. So it's going to be 3 snatches per arm and then 6 sit-outs. It's going to be 3 to each side. And if you can't do the sit-outs, I'll demo some other variations that you can hit instead. Try to, again, find the appropriate scale for you to make the workout challenging, but still doable at the same time. All right, so first up, snatches. So we have essentially a kettlebell swing, but instead of pushing the weight away from you, you're going to pull the weight up and then punch it up overhead. So it's going to look like this. And then cycling it back through, punching it up again. Okay? So it will be 3 reps, one arm, 3 reps on the other arm. Again, if we're not comfortable with that movement, you can do a clean if you're more comfortable with that. Right? So you can just bring that weight up to the chest. That's a fine alternative. If you want to hit ground overhead, you can grab your weight, punch it up to the sky, bring it back to the floor. Again, it's 3 reps per arm if we're doing single arms. It's 6 reps total if we're doing a double arm variation. And again, if you want to throw push-ups in, that's a fine alternative here as well. All right, so then we'll move on to sit-outs. This is looks kind of like breakdancing. All right, so we're going to be in what I call the bear squat position, where we are down on hands and toes, and you're going to shift your weight, kick that leg through, almost sitting to the floor. Okay, keeping everything nice and tight. You're going to cycle back to that bear squat, and then cycle through the other side and back. Okay, so there's a lot of control needed for that movement. So a lot of core, shoulder, and body coordination all happening at the same time. If you're not comfortable with that movement, you could do T rotations instead. So that's where we're in a push-up position, and we push, hand to the ceiling, hand to the ceiling. Okay. If you're struggling to do that one from your toes, you could drop down to your knees, hit the same movement, again, scaling it appropriately. If you're struggling with that as well, you could also switch to just a Russian twist. So seated, turning, side to side. Okay? Basically, we want to work the obliques and the core a little bit with that section of the movement. Okay, so this is really going to challenge the grip. It's going to challenge the shoulders. It's going to challenge the conditioning, all in one neat little bundle. All right? So 3 minutes, 2-minute rest, 5 minutes, and you're done. All right? This will get more and more challenging as we move through each section. All right? So I'm going to start getting myself set up here. You decide which variations you want to use, and I need to get my timer. So, oops, that's the wrong app. There we go. There it is. All right. So I'm going to do 3 minutes, 2 minutes. There we go. All right. So it won't let me put in multiple intervals on my interval timer. So basically, I just set it up so it's got 3 minutes in the work set, 2 minutes in the rest set, right? So the first round I'll do the 3, take the 2, and then I'll do another 3, and when it beeps, I'll just do another 2, okay? I also actually kind of like doing it this way because it gives me an idea of where I'm at in relation to what I did in the 3-minute round previously, so I can judge whether or not I'm like maintaining a similar pace, if I'm going faster, or if I had to slow it down a little bit. Which can be like useful information as you're trying to like scale and progress your workouts, just having an idea of how effective you are at your pacing. So really the 5-minute set, you should probably be a little bit behind what you did in the 3-minute set if you're really giving the appropriate intensity. So like the 3-minute set should be the faster paced because you have a shorter block of time. That 5-minute one could be a little bit slower because you have to hold on to the pace a little bit longer. So like varying the times that you need to be doing movement can really change how you pace yourself as you work through a workout. And then like the more experienced you get with that style of training, the better able you will be to pick out what kind of pace you should be try to maintain as you hit that workout. But again, that comes more from your experience as you keep practicing these things. All right. Can feel my heart rate rising just thinking about getting this one done. I'm going to put a little bit of chalk on my hands though, because otherwise that kettlebell could just go flying. So I just have some liquid chalk here. Not my favorite. I definitely prefer to have the dry chalk instead, but I didn't pick any up, so I gotta. And I've had this stuff for a while and should probably use it up at some point anyway. So, so the liquid chalk, it's not terrible. It's just not quite the same as your dry chalks. So it's got a little bit of alcohol in it. So basically, like you pour a little bit into your hand, make sure you coat your hand, and then let it air dry for a second, and then you will have the powder on the hands. And it does last pretty well. It even stands up to sweat like decently, but it is definitely not the same as utilizing the dry chalk instead. So, all right. There will not be much talking as I work through this next section, as I will need to spend most of my time breathing, trying to maintain my pacing as I hit this one. All right. All right, so we're in the 2-minute rest period now. That was a slightly better pace than I thought I would maintain, actually. So I was into round 5 for the snatches. So we're going to pick up where we left off. So we finished one snatch in the left arm, so we're going to hit 2, and then move into sit-outs and keep working our way through. So wherever you were in your own routine there, pick up where you left off, start going from there for those next 5 minutes. And after those 5 minutes, we'll do a little stretch. If you guys have any questions for me, you can feel free to drop them in the chat. If this is a rewatch for you, you can drop some comments down below. Let me know on the YouTubes what's going on. Okay. You definitely feel the form on those sit-ups starting to get more and more challenging to maintain as that 3 minutes went on. Definitely had to start giving it a little bit more attention to make sure that they were going well. So 5 minutes to glory, folks. 5 minutes to glory. Here we go. Two minutes to go.
Okay, there it is. All right, taking a moment to try to catch your breath. Always a good idea before you move on. I just want to apologize again for the sound quality here. Did not expect the battery on my mic to die so soon. Figured I could get like a good 8 hours out of it at least. Maybe I didn't quite give it a full charge. Thought I left it plugged in long enough, but alright, so I highly recommend stretching out that lower back, so that's where we're going to start. We're just going to go with the knees to chest. So, just laying back on the floor. And squeeze those knees in towards the chest until you feel a light tug on that low back. And if you want to kind of like rock from side to side a little bit, maybe in some little mini circles, that should be really good for that low back. Try switching directions as well, so you're not always focused on the same way. All right. And I'm going to stretch out those glutes next. So let's put that left leg up at a 90-degree bend, so the foot's still on the floor. Right leg, ankle should be just above the knee. And then we're just going to gently push against the right knee. So we're pushing it away from the body, and that should give us a nice little stretch through the glutes, which should have gotten some decent activation from our lunging and from those snatches, and even a little bit from those sit-ups. And let's change the direction. So now we want to grab the outside of that right knee and bring it across the body. Stretch the glutes in a slightly different position because there's a lot of muscles around the hips there. They do require that we come at them from different angles in order to get a good stretch. And I forgot there was one more round on my watch there. All right, let's switch legs. So same thing for the other side. So right leg down on the floor, about a 90-degree bend at the knee. And then left ankle just above the knee. And a gentle push away to stretch out that left glute. So there's no like set time frame that you need to be holding your stretches for. It really is just a matter of personal preference. Like when you feel like that muscle is adequately stretched, you can stop. But usually like 20 to 30 seconds is a good time frame. And you want to spend about a 1-to-1 ratio of time working the muscle as you do stretching the muscle. Most people don't even make the time for like a 1-to-2 ratio. So like for every 1 minute that you're working the muscle, try to get 30 seconds of stretching for that muscle at least. But I am notorious for not stretching. I don't love doing it. But I've been trying to make more of an effort as I get on in years. As some people like to call me old man now. I'm only 35, I'm not old. But hey, to each their own. Oh, alright. Let's sit it up. Stretch out those inner thighs next. Oh, I can't quite see the screen from here. Let's pull up the, let's show up here. No. Oh, I can see there's a comment, but I can't quite read the screen. How you doing, Addie?
Those are a lot of numbers after your name there. So we're stretching out those inner thighs next. So try to sit up nice and tall. Bring the heels together, bring them in as tight as you can, and push those knees down towards the floor. So those inner thighs do tend to get pretty tight for a lot of us just from sitting down so much. It's a good idea to tackle stretching them once in a while. All right, and now we're going to finish our stretches today with a pigeon pose, okay? So we want to bring that left leg up in front of the body, right leg is going to go straight back. I don't know if you guys can't quite see me there, huh? Yeah. So then that position right there is a pretty deep stretch for me. So what I'm trying to do is get this left leg right underneath of the groin. Okay, you can sit up nice and tall, that's pretty good. Right leg is basically stretched straight back behind me, and then some people will fold forward down onto the floor. Okay, the closer you get to the floor, the more intense that stretch is going to get. Right, you may want to incorporate a little bit of rotation, so moving from side to side with this to give you a little bit more of a stretch through various areas. The other side. Again, give yourself a little bit of movement here to intensify the stretch through different parts. All right. Whew. Now that we're good and sweaty, a little bit stretched out, a little bit loosened up, it's time for me to grab something to eat. And then I will probably hop on for some gaming later tonight once I'm all fueled up and ready to do anything else. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys had a good workout. Or if we're not following it right now, when you do watch it, I'll be posting this to my YouTube channel, so you guys can watch it there, follow along with the workout if you like. I will catch you guys a little bit later on. Have a good one.